Welcome back to JRG Guitars. Up today, another episode in our hollow body build with a kit from thefretwire.com. Last episode we left off where we had our stain on the guitar. We fixed a couple of scratches and some other areas that we had. So today it's time to get that gloss coat on. We're going to sand it down, multiple coats. We got a little surprise. We're going to do a little glitter on there. It's going to be great. I'm hoping this guitar really pops and just jumps off once we're finished. So that's coming up today on JRG Guitars. Thanks for checking in. So I'm going to create my water slide decal here and cut it out so we can get it on there prior to the finish. There it is. So the decal is cut out. There'll be just a tiny little border around it. And I've just laid some tape down here so as I put it on I have a guide to what looks flat so it doesn't end up going crooked. So this is my bottom line here that the actual word guitars I'll make parallel with. And then I have these side ones just so as I lay it on here I can get it to where I want it to be about right. And I think I like it right about there. There's a pretty small working time with this. Once it pulls off the backing paper, you want to get it on and then just let it sit. So I'm going to set up and we're going to lock this thing down here. Following the directions right on the decal page, I just have a small bowl of water. I soak it for a minute and then it should come off right onto it. So here we go. Like that. So after the decal is on, it's time for me to just put a little base coat of polyurethane on here. So I'm out in the spray booth and I just coat it on just to get a light little coat. And next up is the thing I'm pretty excited about here. So I use this glitter blast just from a rattle can, just to give a hint of speckle. I did not want it to be too much. I'm not looking for a glitter guitar, just this little hint. So I sprayed it on fairly light. This stuff just splatters everywhere. And as you can see as I get close up here, it's still, you have that nice stained wood behind it, but you just have this effect sitting on top, and hoping for great results on this. Sprayed the whole thing with the exception of the neck. I did get the headstock front, back, and sides, but the actual neck, the playing surface where the back of your hand will go, you can see I have it taped off there. I did not do that. And then I come back with a little more polyurethane. So here we are after multiple coats of poly on the guitar, and what I noticed was I was coating the poly, whether with spray or just wipe on, hanging it from the hook here, and all the poly would start to just slowly drift on down. So I thought best to have a flat surface, so I have it here suspended up on some sticks to keep it at a fairly flat level so that it will all sort of even out. And the edges around here are all fairly well coated, even the top portion here, but as this arch comes down right here, these spots aren't getting coated as well. So set up for a little wet sand here. I have some 500 grit, just a little bit of water with a couple of drops of detergent on there for lubrication purposes, and I'm just going to hit it ever so lightly. So the wet sand with the 500 grit really does take it down, taking those rough edges off the top, and starts to flatten everything out. I did the top, back, and sides. I had scraped the binding to get all of the glitter off of the binding area so that
it was only the stained wood part that had that glitter on it. And then after that wet sand, I come back and brush on a little more polyurethane. And even though I didn't get down to bare wood, it really did kind of suck up this polyurethane pretty well. So multiple coats of polyurethane with time to dry in between, and then come back and do some more wet sanding. This time I'm out here in the backyard in the sun doing a little bit of wet sanding, but nevertheless 500 grit, and even some areas starting to move to even higher grits like 1,000 grit. And then back to more coats of polyurethane, multiple coats with time to dry in between, and then back to wet sanding, and then you guessed it, back to more polyurethane, and then wait, hold on a second, a little more wet sanding, and this went on and on and on until I thought I was at a pretty good spot. And now it's time to make this guy shine. So what I've got here is a buffing wheel. I have multiple wheels, each one used for a different compound. So I start with a rubbing compound, and I just buff the entire guitar, sides, back, front, neck, headstock, front and back. Then I switch out the buffing wheel and go to a polishing compound, again hitting all areas of the guitar. And then I switch out the wheel again and move to a scratch out, which is my finest type of compound, to then get a high shine. Done that on the 2 previous builds and it worked out quite well. So that's what I did on that. I found clamping my drill motor to the table made it look a little, or feel a little bit more like a polishing wheel almost, to where I could then get some of those nooks and crannies on the sides where the horn is right there and where the cutaway is, just to kind of get it. But it is unwieldy, and I certainly didn't want to get too crazy and scratch up this guitar. Well, my makeshift polishing wheel is clamped to the workbench, and I went on and went through all the stages of polishing this guitar. Starting there with that buffing compound to the polishing compound and the scratch out compound to get this thing to a really high shine so it'll really look nice. At this point, once it's all polished up, it's ready for the final stages of assembly. We'll have to rig up some electronics, we'll have to fish everything through into the cavity, install all the hardware, and then string it up and see if we can't have an instrument that really will blow us away, I'm hoping, here at the end. If you like this type of content, please hit that like button, consider hitting the subscribe button and ringing that bell icon so you'll be notified when another video is coming out for you. Thank you as always for staying in here and watching to the end of the video. We'll see you next time on JRG Guitars.
JRG Guitars.